Hey guys, well, it's been 4 days since we made a video, and I apologize for that. It was a really busy weekend. I'm not making excuses. It is what it is. So I thought I'd get this video out. I went out and I went for a morning walk this morning, and usually I go out on the dirt road here, and you can travel any direction a mile, and it's uphill all the way. So it makes for a really good workout. But I decided I want to do something different this morning. So I went from where I'm standing. There's a track around the property that ends up being about 1/3 of a mile. So three laps make a mile. And while I was out walking, I was looking at everything we've been doing the last week, and I thought that I would give you a update on the homestead, or a homestead update video today. So come on, let's go take a look at what we got accomplished. So starting out right next to me, there used to be a whole bunch of barrels. There were probably 5 or 6 barrels of metal here, and some loose like blowers and stuff. And I got that cleaned out last night, and I stuck them back there. You can see them back in the bamboo thicket. I stuck them back there with the rest of the barrels, and eventually that'll go to the recycle place. In the meantime, it's just a good place to store it. Now let's go over here to the garden. You know, one of the things we instituted in the garden was we started doing what Nicole over at Living Free in Tennessee calls Garden 30. Basically, you take 30 minutes out of your day. You wait until it's not too hot. You do it. I'd actually do it in the morning when it's cool. But you take that time and you weed the garden, and it really does help. As you can see, it's not overgrown. It's still got a lot of weeds in there. We've been watering it, and I missed a day of Garden 30, but it all works out really well. I highly suggest you do it. So take that 30 minutes after it cools down in the evening, go out and just weed for 30 minutes or do your gardening. And then I got a new battery for the side-by-side, but I haven't put it in yet. It's sitting in the truck waiting to be installed. Just got to find time to do that. But having to troubleshoot that took some time out of my schedule. Next thing we want to update is this peach tree. So when we moved in, it was almost dead. And as you can see now, you can actually see some of those peaches are actually turning red. We trimmed it back a little bit. We cut off some dead parts, and it's actually pretty healthy now. Same thing goes for these apple trees. We got 3 different types of apples here, and even this one closest to us, the smallest one, has decent-sized apples on it. That one in the middle, the big one, is just loaded down with apples. It's just amazing how well it's doing right now. Another project we did was I got out here with the weed eater, and before I started this blackberry patch, you could barely see the tops of some of these canes. Well, as you can see now, you can see them all. I chopped and dropped. There's all kinds of mulch on the ground now, and I'm gonna mulch it further. I'm gonna get some more and just try to bury these weeds and get it so all we see is the canes. Unfortunately, you know, for every 2 canes that I exposed of the new stuff, I accidentally destroyed one. But it's a sacrifice that had to be made. The grass was growing entirely too tall, and the blackberries were competing with the grass and all the weeds to grow. So I can tell you right now, just in the last week since I did this, these things have taken off. And check this out. There's some new cane, and that's new cane. I don't know if you've ever done blackberries or raspberries before. But the way it works is the second-year canes are the ones that get your fruit on it. And the heat back in June just killed all the new growth on these second-year canes. But we got a little bit of rain, and I cut back all the weeds so they're not having to compete as hard. You can see we're actually starting to get some new berries on there. So we may actually get berries this fall. And I mean, they're really tiny on these things, but it's coming along. Check this out. This was the only cane that had fruit growing on it, and it was out at the edge, and it was right next to where I was mowing. So it was not competing with anything. But look how big. My gosh, look how big these things are. There's my thumb. Look how big that berry is. Look how big that one is. I mean, those things are huge. But we're really looking forward to this fall and getting some berries, because if the animals don't get into it, we're going to have quite a few of them. And the ones we've picked so far are delicious. Right next to the berry patch, you can see the bamboo patch. And we stuck a whole bunch of stuff in there that we pulled back over onto the property, and now it is being overgrown. So sticking that stuff right next to that bamboo was a big mistake. I mean, here's a IBC tote we were going to use for water catchment. You can see how far it's overgrown. And if we look up here, I mean, my gosh, that bamboo is 15, 20 feet tall in places. And we're trying to figure out what to do to make a revenue stream out of it. And I think what we're going to do is get a sickle bar mower and mow back a large portion of this bamboo grove. And you can see it's growing up around the trailers. But once we do that, they'll grow back. It'll grow back. The only way to get rid of it is to take out the top 6 inches of soil and get all the rhizomes out. But once it starts growing back, we can start harvesting it whenever it's 6 to 8 inches tall, and we can sell that as bamboo sprouts. And I don't know if you've ever had bamboo sprouts, but they are delicious. And we've been adding stuff to the storage area. We're moving barrels. Can't see the new ones because they're in the back. All this new growth has grown up around it, and there's Smokezilla. We need to get it up and running at some point. We've got the smoker trailer, so it's not quite as big a priority as it was before. But we've been bringing stuff over here and trying to get the property cleaned up. Then over on the tree line, we're using it for storage for fence posts and such. So there's some T-posts. We've got some big hedge logs there. And then over there in the shade, I don't know if you can see it, there's some older logs that we had before on the property that I moved at one point. The big project last week was I got out here and I mowed this pasture. We can't put animals on it just yet, and I'll explain to you why here in just a moment. But the big project was mowing it and then reclaiming all the grass clippings and using it to mulch around these new trees. Now once I got the trees done, I put cages around them because they're just getting big enough that, and I don't have it around all of them. As you see in the back, those pink flags, I haven't got cages around all of them. Haven't got them all mulched either. But they're getting big enough that the deer are going to be starting to munch on them as soon as the weather breaks and they're up and moving. So we wanted to make sure that we got those protected and made it so that they're not getting destroyed like our other trees at the old place. And then the second portion of the chop and drop weekend was all of these locust trees. They had branches that were sticking down and they were poking me every time I tried mowing around them. And so I hacked off the lower limbs and I stacked them around the bottom of them so that whenever they decompose, all those nutrients will go right back into the soil. As you see over there, there's a couple there. There's one that one that's leaning is going to get taken out. And there's a big one right there. But I did that, A, to make it easier, and B, it's going to help the productivity of those trees and help them grow. And it'll help the other trees too, because those black locust trees are nitrogen fixers. As we walk down the lane, there's this pecan branch hanging down, and as you can see, it's kind of hard to see it. But there are pecans all over this branch. And this entire tree is just loaded with pecans. And as I was walking down the lane doing some exploring, there's like, oh my gosh, there's 5 or 6 pecan trees down here, and each one of them is loaded up with nuts. And so we're looking forward to this fall, once they fall to the ground, harvesting them and getting fresh pecans to store over the winter. Now, I did some work on the range too, so let's go down there and check it out. as you can see, I managed to get some targets and target racks up down here on by the berm of the firing range. And that berm is actually about 7 feet tall and about 35 feet long. And it's made up of 250 tires. And I took sod and dirt and filled the tires. And then all that sod that I put on top, the grass is growing. And as you can see, you can't even see the tires. It just looks like a big hill. But it's deep enough and sturdy enough that nothing's going to go through it whenever we shoot at it. I haven't been able to go to the range yet. Just haven't had time. Wanted to do it 4th of July, but never had a chance to. One of the problems, or not problems, I guess, one of the things I got to deal with at some point is that pecan branch we were just looking at hangs down over the firing line and covers up part of the lane. So as soon as the leaves come off that tree and all the nuts have fallen, I'm going to have to trim that tree back so that I can see all the way down here. Now we're looking back at that pasture from a different angle, and you'd think that we'd be able to put animals out there. But the problem is these plants right here. Those tall plants with the big leaves, those are milkweed. And that entire field is full of milkweed. And the problem is it's poisonous to goats and sheep especially. So we have to figure out how to get rid of it. And the plan is that we're going to run chicken tractors out on that field. Well, a chicken tractor this fall. But we're going to run chicken tractor out there, and hopefully the chickens will eat all that milkweed and help make the soil better. And once your soil gets better, all these noxious weeds that we don't want end up being beaten out by the healthy grass as it grows. So that's what we're hoping. We're hoping it'll fix that problem. The path leads us to the little alcove that was created for making the pond. Whenever he was fixing the pond, he had to take out all these trees so that oh, here we go. He had to take out all those trees in order to get his stuff back here, his equipment back here. Well, it made this little alcove. And as you can see, it's about noon right now when I'm filming this. Whenever the sun's overhead, there's not a lot of shade back here. But as soon as it starts dipping down either way, when it's coming up or going down, it gets shady real quick and it stays nice and cool back here. And because of the cut in the tree, any wind that comes through here funnels right up through here, and you've always got a nice little breeze going through here. If there's any breeze at all, it's coming up through here. Here we come out on the back of the pond. As you can see, there's a lot of duckweed on it, and we really need to get that taken care of. We've got some grass carp coming, and we actually need to treat this again. We've still got some treatments that we need to do on the pond to make the water better, but eventually we'll get it so it's cleared and everything will be nice and kosher with it. And as you can see down here on the ground, we put that clover down earlier, and it's going like gangbusters. Even back where those weeds are, there's clover all over the place. Now, as we're walking along the back side of the dam, or the top of the dam actually, we can look down the back side. I actually planted some potatoes back there. You can't see where they are because the weeds and grass are growing up, but they're back there. There's some wood that needs to be cut. One thing we figured out about the property is what we thought was the edge of the property line actually wasn't. So I showed you that video last fall of what we thought was the creek bed. That was actually a dried up slough. And the property line actually extends about another 200 or 300 yards back from where we thought it was. And it goes all the way back to the creek. And it's really nice. There's a couple of really nice deer trails. There's one that's actually right on the other side of the tree line here. And eventually we're going to turn the backside of this dam into a food plot. We got to figure out what we're going to do. Probably going to plant cowpeas back here or buckwheat next fall to try to beat out these weeds. But we're going to turn it into a food plot so the deer will come up here and look for getting water and getting food up here, and then we can harvest deer off our property. But there's a bunch of firewood that needs to be cut. There's another pile back there that you can't see because of the weeds, but it's there. So let's head over to the back side of the paddock. Well, here we are looking onto the back of the paddock. You know what? Before we talk about that, let's go down and check out the beehives. Well, there's lots of activity back here. Unfortunately, those two hives nearest to us are empty. There's absolutely no activity on them. That one down on the end is just going crazy, and the one next to it is healthy, but it's not quite as active as the one on the end. You know, it's a shame that we lost those hives, but we're talking to other beekeepers in the area, and they've lost hives too. We've got one more hive over at Bee and Tags at Life Done Free, our wary hive, that we need to relocate over here. We got to figure out where we're going to put it. We know if we're going to put it here, we're going to put it someplace else. Oh, and people heard me talking. So here's the paddock. You know, like I said in the video earlier, I got the fence put in, and I'm going to end up cross fencing it up on the other side of those trees right there, and tie it into that fence on the end, because they're eating the paddocks down too much, and I need to make it so I can separate them, and they can work on one while the other one grows a little bit for a week. And I'll just switch them every week or so. But there's the crew. Everybody's out here. As you can tell, they're starving to death. They're all skin and bones. Look at how pitiful they are. In the morning you come out and you would think that we did not feed them and they never got anything to eat, because they make so much noise. But they're nice and healthy. Even the little lamb, I'm not sure where he is, but the one that hurt his foot, oh, there he is. He's there in the back. He's at the very back. Even the one that hurt his hip, as you can see, he's starting to put weight on it, and he's starting to get around, which is good, because we were afraid that if it was hurt really bad, he wouldn't put weight on it, and it would atrophy, and then that would hurt his resellability. But he's getting along. He's still gimpy a little bit, but he's doing okay. Here's that other paddock. As you can see, they've got it eaten down pretty good. Let's go check out that area over there where the grass was tall earlier. Well, as you can see, they've eaten that down quite a bit. They're not hitting some of the stuff like I thought they would, but still, even then, they've exposed a lot of that metal that was there, and a lot of the trash that was over there that needs to be picked up. It's only been a week and a half, but I'm going to give them another 2.5 weeks, and we'll see how far they get this down. They've been working on it. They prefer that short grass over there, but eventually they'll hit this and they'll get it down and expose everything that needs to be taken out. This tree right here, this is an American plum, and it's actually a success story, even though it looks terrible. So when we moved in, we thought this thing was dead. So we pruned it a little bit, and lo and behold, let's see if I can find some for you. Lo and behold, there are actually plums on this tree. Oh, there's one. There's one right up there. I hope you can see it. Am I getting it? But there are actually plums. There's one right there, too. This tree's a hardy little tree, and it's a survivor. I got to go through and prune off all that dead stuff, but I want to wait until it goes dormant before I do that, because I don't want to end up traumatizing it more than I need to. And the compost pile, we've been working on it. And here's the compost pile. We've been working on it. Get out here with the skid loader and flip it. It's actually so warm in the middle of that thing that we got rid of a bunch of eggs that were going bad, and I threw them in the middle of that, and it cooked them. Actually hard-boiled the eggs inside that pile. And we've also been throwing, we've had chicks that have died, so we're putting them in there. There's actually a possum in there that one of the dogs got this morning. Did not go over well with the dogs, a possum being near their chickens. So one of them, I think it was Freya. I think Freya got it and took care of it. But it's in there, and it's just going to add to the nutrients in that pile. And with it being as hot as it is, it'll decompose it really quick. And right next to it is the pear tree. Check this limb out. So just on that little tiny limb, look at how many pears are there. And every single limb on this tree is like that. So we'll need to get out this fall after we harvest everything and prune it back so that we can get more energy. You know, we're going to have a whole bunch of smaller fruit this year. But once we do that, we'll get even better production out of those trees, and both those trees are like that. And here's another look at all the trash. I don't know if you remember when I did the fences video. If you go back and look at it, you could see absolutely none of that stuff, just the tops of it. But they have gone through there. They've uncovered there's some telephone poles there that I'm going to be able to use for projects around here. I'm really excited about that because getting things like that is expensive. So everybody followed me up from the other end of the field when I came up here, and they're all over there screaming about how hungry they are, and they're right there. But one of the big projects I did last night was there were 12 barrels right here that had different solvents and lubricants in it, and I wanted to move them, get them away from where food production was taking place. So I got the skid loader out and I moved them. I put them all over in the storage area over there. I got to figure out what to do with them to get rid of them. Right now, I just wanted to get them moved and out of the way. And I think the project tonight, if it's not too hot, is I'm going to get the truck back here. I'm going to move all those barrels and get those over to the storage area too, because I want to get that little pen right there that I'm building for storing hay in. I want to get it up and running, and then so I can cross fence and run that fence up, like I was talking about earlier in the video. Now the cool thing about this place is we're constantly finding new stuff. So see those trees over there by that gate, the short ones? Those are actually pawpaw trees. And they've actually got fruit on them, and if we can figure out how to propagate those, we're going to propagate them and plant them someplace else on the property so the goats and sheep won't destroy them like they are these trees. They've actually taken some of them out. But we're going to get it so that we've got pawpaws on the property. I have not had a pawpaw since I was in my teens, and I love them, and I'm really excited about getting those up and running. And the Rose of Sharon is starting to bloom. You know, they really are pretty, but they propagate so much. They're just so invasive. They just get all over the place. But right next to the Rose of Sharon is another American plum tree. And we thought that the goats and sheep were going to destroy this thing because it's hanging over. You can see over there where the fence is, they've eaten them up. But this one's pretty hardy, and it's surviving. And there's actually fruit on this thing. So as you can see, there's one. See the little tiny one right there, and there's another one. But there's actually fruit on it. And this tree over here is an American plum too. Unfortunately, yesterday, the goats and sheep got out. They attacked the peach tree that I showed you earlier in the video, and they attacked this one. There actually was fruit on this tree. But now it's kind of denuded. I'm going to have to come in here and stand it back up and trim off some of those broken branches and stuff and see if we can't keep it alive till next year. And then in the back of the house, when the goats were out, they started eating all this viney stuff. Didn't get it over there, but I got to figure out how to get rid of this stuff. It's very, very hardy, very invasive. It grows like crazy, and as much as I hate saying this, I may actually get some herbicide, and I may actually spray back here. Kill off all this stuff, and then build some beds along the edge of the house so that we can actually grow food and everything in it and not have to worry about that viney stuff. You know, we'll put weed blocker down and go from there. And then there's the generator. We're actually talking we need to get that up and running. I think it's going to become more important as things go on. So we're going to get the gas line run for that, and pour a pad for it, get it set in place, and get it up and running. And the front yard. So this is something we got to figure out what to do with it. We need to figure out how to make this productive. You know, that redbud tree over there we can eat off of it. The flowers on that are edible. But I'm thinking I'm going to make a small sheep shaw and stick some animals in it and run them on this front yard, just to make it productive and make it so I don't have to feed them as much feed. Now, let's go check something out. Pardon the AC noise, it's a little hot out here. So I cut that window in. I replaced that window. The original window was like that, and I got it replaced. That's that room that we were rehabbing this winter. We got to caulk it and paint it. But even having that window in there made a huge difference. I accidentally left the door open, and just the AC blowing in the hallway caused that room to cool down quite a bit, and it actually held the cold. It didn't get warm. So that window's not leaking like that old window was, and it looks way better too. And so Angela's in there mudding right now. Not right this instant, but she's mudding, and she's doing that. I've got some drywall that still needs to go up, and I've got a light, electric line for a light I got to run. But after that, we'll be able to paint it, get the flooring in, and finish it out. And we'll have a second bedroom, so whenever the kids come to visit, they're not sleeping on an air mattress or on a fold-out futon in the kitchen. So we're really excited about that. Looks like the goat's got a hold of that redbud tree. I need to get out here and get some paint on that or something. Hopefully it doesn't hurt it too bad. But we've got, I said it before, there's another propane tank in that tree line right there behind those evergreens. So we're going to pull it out, bring it over here, tie it in with that one. That'll give us an extra 500 pounds or 1,000 pounds of propane once we fill it up, which will come in handy once we get the generator. I don't know if you can see that floating through the air. That's the stuff off the cottonwood. It looks like snow floating across the yard. And I got one more thing to show you, so come on. This was on sale. It's a lawn sweeper, so we went ahead and bought one. And we're going to use it to sweep up all the mulch off that pasture over there that we're cutting. You know, it's doing it by hand is just a pain. And for the price, this is going to work really well until we get that field rehabbed and we can put animals out on it. We'll be able to sweep it up, get it into the compost pile, or get it into the mulch of the trees with it. So I'm looking forward to it. I think one of the things I'm going to do tonight is get this thing set up so that we can start. Well, there you have it. We've gone the one-third mile track around the property, and I showed you what we've got going on the last week and a half. And as you can see, we got a lot going on. We did a lot, made it kind of hard to do anything else. Listen, I know it's easy to get frustrated through all this. It always seems like you're not getting anything done. I sat down and figured it up. I think I've got 14 or 15 projects that are either partially finished or I've bought the materials for it and I haven't started them. And it's just frustrating as all get out sometimes. I want you to know it's okay to feel like that. Don't feel like you're alone. Don't feel like you're the only person. There's a lot of people out there feeling like that, especially with everything that's going on in the world today and the sense of urgency it's created. It just seems like at times we can't get things done fast enough. Just every time we're turning around, there's something else being thrown at us that we have to deal with. It's okay. Don't let it get to you. Don't get to the point where you're just stressed out all the time for it. And if you do find yourself getting like that, take a break. You know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, whether you're ready for it or not. And letting your mental health go by being stressed out about it and being upset does absolutely nobody any good. So take a break. You know, 4th of July, we lost an entire day because we went down and saw the grandkids. Had a blast. We were on the road all day long visiting them and got absolutely nothing accomplished but the daily chores here. That's okay. But the point is, can't let it get to you. Can't be stressed out. You need to stay healthy up here as well as in here, all right? So if you feel like you are behind the 8 ball, you feel like you're behind the curve, you feel like you're just not getting stuff done, just keep plugging away at it. Nicole over at Living Free in Tennessee has some really good ideas. I told you the Garden 30 thing earlier. She's got another one that she does where she picks 3 topics or three tasks that she wants to accomplish in any given day, and she works on those. And And as a result, if she gets those done, she ends up doing other ones as well. You know, last night the task was to get those barrels moved, and I got that done. And I had time, so I moved the metal. I moved those metal barrels, you know. So it just pick a task, isolate it, get it done, move on to the next one. You know, if you've got a job, you got to figure, you know, with daily chores and eating dinner, you know, you go get home from your job, you've only got an hour and a half to 3 hours worth of work in the summertime. In the winter, it's even worse because the sun goes down so quick. You know, so you know, you're running on a short time clock. Just make the most of it. Don't get stressed out. If you like this video, thought it was worthwhile, go ahead and share it. Going to get more videos out. We got a special one coming up later on this week. I just got to get time to sit down with Angela and make the video. I think you guys are going to really like it. It's kind of exciting. But hit that notification bell if you want to know when that video or any other videos drop. I've got the step 5 of the OPSEC process coming up later on this week. So we got more content coming out. We're not going to have any 4-day breaks again. We're going to get back on it, put our nose to the grindstone, and get it done for you guys. Most importantly, go pursue a life done free. Take care. Grandpa G. Claire. Thanks, Milo.